Good evening. We have assembled here tonight on the 28th day of June 2020 for another round of webinar, and today's topic is potential Indian geopark in Deccan volcanic provinces, to be delivered by the geoscientist couple from Pune, Sudha and Nataraj Vaddadi. And I am S. Guha, retired Deputy Director General from the Geological Survey of India. I have been given the privilege of moderating today's talk as I spent the first 10 years of my service career from Operation Maharashtra West, Pune. In the earlier days, as you are all aware, Deccan Trap basalts would be shown on the geological maps with a simple stretch of green color, even on a scale of 1:1 mile. It was, however, the devastating Koyna earthquake of 1967 that changed the scenario altogether, and systematic geological mapping of individual flows was initiated from the beginning of the 70s. And the result followed thick and fast. Lots of interesting geological features started pouring in from the nooks and corners of this interesting geological province. During the mid 70s, the Russians raised great hopes for finding noble metals and sulfide deposits from the instance of Siberian traps. Though that has not materialized so far, it more than compensated in many other ways through the intense mapping work by scores of geologists over a period of time. In the original list of the National Geological Monuments, there was only one out of 26 from the state of Maharashtra, that is the impact crater lake at Lonar in Buldana district of Maharashtra, nearly 500 kilometers or more away from Pune, falling under the purview of the Maharashtra East Circle, Nagpur. Today's talk, I am sure, will however dispel the thought and reveal the kind of geoheritage that the Western Maharashtra holds, and it certainly is not exhaustive, far from it. Let me introduce the two speakers today. First, Sudha Vaddadi. She had done her MSc in 1983 and MPhil in 85 from the University of Pune and joined GSI in 1986. Later on, she had completed her PhD in 99 under the able guidance of Professor S.N. Rajguru, an authority on the subject of geology in general and geoarchaeology in particular. Later, she was actively involved with geoscience education, one of the founder members and currently the president of the non-profit organization called CERG, that is the Center for Education and Research on Geosciences. And she is the present president of this organization. She is also associated with the postgraduate division of the Department of Geology at Fergusson College as a visiting faculty since 2009. She had taken voluntary retirement from the Geological Survey of India after 23 years of meritorious service from Pune, and has been engaged in this non-profit making outreach programs under the auspices of the SARG. Regarding Mr. Nataraj, he has a very checkered career and has over 35 years of professional experience covering diverse portfolios for large multinationals across petroleum, automobile and IT-enabled industries. Starting off as a logging engineer with the Geoservices France, he handled various assignments, including independent charge of human resources. He has also been a resident trainer for PE International UK and also the India country head for ID & Spa, a Fiat Group company, followed by Genpact and the Reliance Industries Limited. He had played a key role in setting up of the postgraduate Department of Petroleum Technology at the Wadia College, Pune. He had also authored one book on the subject. He, along with his wife Sudha, both are founding members of SARJ and has been actively engaged in different activities concerning the outreach programs and are taking the subject to the masses and also the students. So they will be giving a brief narration on a two days program of Geoheritage tour along certain parts of Western Maharashtra, starting from Pune, and I hand over the podium to Sudha and Mr. Natraj. Please, over to Sudha and Natraj. Thank you.
Please.
Thank you very much, sir, for the kind introduction.
Thank you, sir, for the kind introduction. I should remember, I'm sure after seeing today's presentation, you will be reliving your earlier days in GSI when you were in Pune, working on the Deccan tracks.
Good afternoon once again, and we're really glad to be here and to share with the august audience our experiences in trying to promote not just geosciences but also geoheritage and geotourism in a modest way in and around Pune city. Of course, we do have ambitious plans of expanding our outreach programs to outside Pune and across India. And I'm sure we will have the help of all the esteemed members in this audience. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you once again.
So we now start with our presentation.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to be talking about the Pune Geopark, essentially an Indian geopark in the Deccan Volcanic Province. And what is one of the interesting things is that Deccan Volcanic Province, or the Deccan Traps as they're commonly known, have a lot of interesting features. But unfortunately, they have been restricted to geologists who've been working in the field. I mean, for a common man, everything looks black, everything looks dark, and there is not much to see except for the interesting the zeolites or the secondary minerals that they see once in a while. Yeah. So our attempt has been to actually take people around, and we've done this a couple of times. Have a good marked itinerary where we take them on a systematic way and show them different locations and explain the significance. And mind you, this is essentially meant for the layman or the common man. And that is why we've kept this presentation also and very, very simple.
Yes, we actually, our aim is mainly to build awareness. And based on our work in Deccan basalt, we have tried to identify some of the geological features or geoheritage sites. And we are trying to promote or highlight the scope for geotourism in Deccan basalt. The earlier webinars were based on Himalayan terrain and Rajasthan. Unlike the Himalayan terrain and Rajasthan, the Deccan basalts, as Natraj just mentioned, is all completely made up of only basalt and its variants. So these, but that doesn't mean that there is no scope for geotourism, and there are many geological. Deccan basalts has immense potential for geological features which are interesting, and these we have as highlighted here. They are of geological nature. You have important lunar crater, impact crater. You have many of them are geomorphic features, which are some of them are micro relief, but some of them are larger. And you also have many cultural places. In fact, Maharashtra is dotted with caves and forts. And I would like to mention here that these geomorphic features as well as cultural features have some are somewhere related to the flow type. Okay, next one. So actually, often what happens, the common man is like he mentioned that common man are aware of some of the interesting features from the Western escarpment. Now, what you see here is actually a from the Mahabaleshwar plateau. So these are areas where people have been visiting on weekends. But unfortunately, the plateau area or the Deccan plateau, which is the Desh area, which we say, there are very few actually geoheritage sites or geomorphological sites identified. Next. So Guha sir has already mentioned the historical background about the. What happened?
So we'll have to stop here. Something wrong with the screen. Can you hear us properly?
Yeah, please go on, sir. It is now the next screen is there. The stratigraphy has come now.
No, earlier one. No, sorry. Huh. So we were on this screen. So Guha sir had already mentioned about the uh, distribution of flows or rather the classification of flows. Prior to the Koina earthquake, the flows were mapped as vesicular flows, amygdala flows, compact flows, and jointed flows. It's only after the Koina earthquake and GPL walkers visit to India that flows were identified as Pahoi flows and R flows because of their resemblance to the Hawaiian flows. Because this is a map which is of Deshmukh, prepared by Deshmukh sir, which shows the distribution of Pahoi flows and R flows. Okay. What is interesting is that where the Pahoi flows are there, that this area is a place where you have maximum caves, and where the simple flows are shown, that is the area where you have maximum forts. Now this to the right, the photographs to the right show you to the left show you how the Pahoi flow is basically made up of many small units, and the R flows are generally more thick. I will not go into the details here because this is not actually a geological presentation as such. So this is just to give a brief combined stratigraphy prepared by Vaidyanathan and Ramakrishnan, which appeared in the book Geology of India. I have slightly modified it, just added the different GPBs or the names of the GPBs. Mainly the reason why I have shown is that because during this travels we will be seeing some of the formational contacts which may be of interest to some students who are there. Okay, this when you talk about a flow, now what happens is many a times students get confused with the terms flow, field, and even common man don't understand this at all. So this what you see here, this schematic sketch shows you the flow field in which you can see three different flows. Now the one in the center, which is shown with red, that is a active channel, you can see, and towards the distal end, that's where you have your flow front. You can see that it becomes distributaries. It starts as a single channel and it becomes distributaries. And if we take a section across along A, this is what it would look like. And if you take a section along B, this is what it would look like, made up of many small lobes or units. And lobes are the smallest units, smallest ones, which as you can see the dimensions. And each of these unit shows a distinct internal morphology. Now this.
So the challenge for the common man is for the geologist to explain to the common man is everything looks black, everything looks dark. How do you actually go to the field and say that this is an R flow and this is a Pahoi flow? And trying to make them understand in very simple terms the differences and how to point out. I mean, forget the laymen, even students of BSc and postgraduates generally find it very difficult to understand this. Yeah, and that is why we put this little bit of the pictures here, which talk about morphology of flows in a very simple manner.
So the R flows are typically, both of them have a three-tier pattern, internal morphology. The R flows typically have a thin basal clinker at followed by a massive core which is quite thick, often jointed, and to the top it has got something called what is called as a fragmentary. It's in the old report it is written as a fragmentary top, but now we call it as a flow top deck. Okay, and below what you can see in which is deep red in color, that is the interflow horizon, which is often called as red bowl. You have different colors in it. Now this is typically what a R flow looks like, and a Pahoy flow, it again has this one single unit within the compound Pahoy flow. At the base you have a zone of base vesicular zone, which is made up of pipe vesicles, followed by a central core in which you have vesicle cylinders, and towards the top you have a a zone of vesicles, which shows actually a alignment, parallel alignment to, and at the top you have a thin glassy crust.
So moving on, Sudha just mentioned to you the different features and broadly things which would be of interest to the layman. What we have done, and from our experience, what we have done here is that we've actually charted out a very systematic tour to take people, students, elderly men, and we've been very, in a way, successful. That we even have had 65 years old as well as kids of 10 years old and 7 years old accompanying us. So this is the route that we have kind of mapped for this particular tour, and we'll take you, and through this presentation is essentially a ride through this tour. A virtual tour that we'll be taking you through at the different spots. Now, interestingly, this split into 2 days. Roughly, we cover about 330 kilometers kilometers in this whole traverse, and that's we've split it into 2 days. And we'll see roughly about 7 or 8 or 9 such interesting features which are displayed. Now, the idea is not just to have only geological stuff to be shown, but we will also kind of interface it with the cultural aspect, like the temples and the other kind of artifacts which are present in that particular area. So, day 1 we cover Pataleshwar, Shenyorvada, Goradeshwar, Boriyashpet, as the slide shows you. And day 2 we go to Gulunchwadi, Mondol Dam. Finally, we end up with Nigoj, which is quite a popular tourist destination. And we come back to Pune. Yeah. So the tour begins at Pataleshwar, which is an ancient temple, very much in the heart of the city. It's very nostalgic for me because I grew up in this area just about 2 kilometers away, and this used to be our evening temple visit. Yeah.
Yeah, Pataleshwar actually is as I said, the heart of in Shivaji Nagar, near Shivaji Nagar, which is at the confluence of Mula and Mutha rivers. This is where your Pune began, and a bit, if you look into the history, early and medieval history, you'll find that Pune was actually an agricultural settlement known as Punaka, and which later became Punyanagari. And today it is actually known as actually a cultural capital of Maharashtra. Okay, so this is not, this temple is not at the road level. We'll be assembling here, and a few steps leading to the temple below the ground. And what you see here is the Nandi Mantapa. It is a rectangular cave temple, which is where the deity is actually Shiva, and this was built during the Rashtrakuta period in the 8th century. And what is interesting is that there is a huge circular Nandi Mandapa in the big courtyard, and this entire thing is carved out of a single flow, that is a compound Pahoy flow. These belong to the Karla formation, and the Nandi Mandapa is completely supported by pillars. And what you see here is a close-up of one of the pillars. Each of these pillars, so you can see the one single small Pahoy unit, where you can see the vesicle cylinders, you can see the Pahoy, the pipe vesicles at the base, and towards the top you can also, if you're lucky enough, you can see some horizontally aligned vesicles. Okay. Next, from here we move to we have a we have a breakfast, a quick breakfast, and then go to the next site, which is Shaniwarwada, which is about a kilometer from Pataleshwar.
Now, Shaniwarwada and Pune are typically synonymous. When you talk about Pune, it is about Shaniwarwada because this is where the old town and the old city started building up. It was the capital of the Peshwas. Very interesting history. Again, built on the banks of a river, the southern banks of the river, and a fortification from which the Peshwas ruled. Interestingly, the Peshwas actually went on to capture several localities in the north of the country. Places like Gwalior, Baroda, and Indore, and all that. And that's why you see a lot of Maharashtrian influence still there. What we call the Sindhyas are originally the Shindes came from Pune. Yeah, and the interesting fact is that way back in the 1700s, 1740, 1750, the architecture was so well refined that we have a lot of water aqueducts, subsurface aqueducts, and wells built into this. Now, what is interesting is Sudha just talked about Pataleshwar and Shaniwarwada. They are 1 kilometer away. And the interesting fact is that these wells have been linked to each other. I mean, stories when we were young, we were told that they were basically tunnels for escaping, but essentially they are waterways to supply water to the Pune city. And you'll see another interesting aspect of the way the architecture and the planning was there in the ancient times in Pune.
Yeah. This,
which is the Peshwai water system. Now, this basically this map or this article shows about writes about Peshwai water system. Intensive research done by one Dr. Uday Kulkarni, not the geologist but a surgeon who's done a lot of studies on the Peshwa history. Now, what is interesting is this Kathraj. There is a tank in Kathraj which is exactly south of Pune city, and here the water from Kathraj was actually supplied to Pune city, to Shaniwarwada and other places, and possibly the outer reaches like Pataleshwar and all that, by a system of underground aqueducts. Yeah, this was what it was in 2013 when some of the trekkers actually identified this, and later on the corporation has actually unearthed that and cleaned it up and unearthed the 270-year-old. It's 270 years old water source. To supply water to the hills in and around Pune. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to add something here. Recently, that is in 2016, people from Deccan College, this is Gokhale and Dev, they have done virtual reconstruction of the entire system by using GIS. And this will be helpful for the PMC also for supplying water, especially when we have a shortage now.
So after this two locations within the Pune city, we move to the lava cave, which is in Geoheritage. Geoheritage is actually based on a hill. It's again a Shiva temple, but some of the boys in Sudha and the team have actually unearthed the lava cave. This is roughly about 30 kilometers north of Pune city, toward on the Bombay highway, and it's known as Geoheritage, and is a very again popular religious kind of tourist destination.
So Geoheritage, as he just mentioned, is on top of a hill, and it's also known as Ghorwadi or Shelarwadi caves. Here, what you see is that in the southern face there are some natural openings. This was actually identified earlier in 2015. Two of the students, Pawar and Amod, they actually identified it, and we did some detailed study here. It's nearly 20 kilometers long, and it has a circular opening at the entrance. And as you go inside, it becomes more Gothic shape. And as it tapers down, you have to actually crawl. This is found at about 790 meters above mean sea level on the southern side. Okay, and this is again carved in the Pahoi flows, and you can see various features. Flow morphology of the Pahoi in the adjacent area. Next. Yeah, so as you can see the size you can get the idea about the size of the cave from the number of people who are sitting in the cave. Okay. So on the northern flank of the same hill, you have at the 760 meters above mean sea level, you have some rock cut caves. This is very interesting because this the entire thing is present in Karla formation in the same powerful flow, and you can see some squeeze ups also present here in the flows at descent. Which this based on these studies, we feel that the existing caves were used, natural openings were used initially by the Buddhists. It was the Buddhist cave, which later on you have also Hindu deities now, were used by the Buddhists during that period during the Satavahana period for staying. Actually, this is all along the route, trade route.
Yeah. So from Goradeshwar, there's a little bit of a long ride to a place called on our way to the
Nashik.
Nashik Highway. We stop for lunch at a place called Purohit's. It's about an hour halt, some good food, and then we move on.
Yeah. So this is the entire route which we are taking from Nashik Road, that is towards Narayangao, and then we'll be going to the geological map. Okay, and at Alefata we'll be taking a turn, and then we will be going this turn. We'll be at Alefata. We'll be taking a turn and then going along this road. So this is the entire area which we are going to see the geological map of the entire area. As you can, I mean, this is modified from the DRM of GSI. Okay, combining the two different districts. You can see there are two different formational boundaries we'll be seeing along the way, and there are northeast southwest trending dikes and northwest southwest trending fractures, along which you have the lava channels. Next. Okay, now earlier one. Yeah, so you can see Bori indicate shown here along the river, that this is Bori here Bori. So this is where you have your ash beds have been, volcanic ash deposits are found. Yeah, this is the Bori is along the banks of Kukudi River actually, and this is one of the very good sites. This particular photograph, what you see to the left, was taken in 1989. It was Ravi Kurisitar and Vishwas Kale and Dr. Rajguru and the team who had identified it. And there was a paper in Current Science in 1989. Post that, we had gone to Dr. Rajguru for a visit, and this is the beautifully exposed volcanic ash. Dr. Kutuba, former DG, he's standing there. I'm sure Guha sir also will be remembering this visit. And this, what you see to your right, is the photograph which we have taken in just exactly 1 year back. Okay, so this site has to be preserved because you have beautiful cemented gravel bar which had, from where the animal fossils were recovered. You also have Acheulean tools and good the exposures of volcanic ash was really good. Today we have seen in multiple locations which are separated. Incidentally, the 1 year back, the Bori Panchayat had called all the experts, and they plan to preserve it. They have already barricaded the area. They intend to build a museum which will showcase all these fossils and the Acheulean tools, as well as the volcanic ash and the entire sequence, including the basalts.
So it's interesting that the local people are actually taking interest and have recognized that it's something different and they need to preserve it. Yeah.
And
from there we move to basically for a night halt at a place called the Parashar Tourism. It's an agro-tourist site. Nice place. They do a lot of agricultural stuff and things like that. So we do the night halt there, ready for the next day's move to this place called Gulunchwadi, where a natural arch is seen.
Yeah, Gulunchwadi is close, not very far. After an early breakfast, we leave for Gulunchwadi. You can see here the road. This is the Ahmednagar Kalyan Road, and to the west of the road, you can see the stream. Okay, that is the Ardra Nala, which is a tributary of Kukudi River. And on that Nala, you can see the natural arch which is formed. And there is a temple, Malganga temple. Fortunately, because of the temple, the arch is still preserved. Now, on the right side, or towards the east, on the right side of your road, you can see the dike which is exposed, and dike including the Pahoe flows here. Next one. Yeah. So this is
This must be the natural pitch.
so. Yeah. So there is a small there is a small on the road itself. You can see a small arch which will lead you to the with a few these steep steps are there, which will lead you to the Malganga temple. And yes, this is the Malganga temple here. What you see here, and what this is a view which is taken from the top, where you can see actually the bridge or natural bridge or the arch from the road, and this is the arch which is formed. So what you can see is that there is a contact between two different flow units flows there, and along the contact actually there is water sapping taking place. Water is seeping continuously. The original river was flowing somewhere. The spur is much longer, and the original river was probably flowing much ahead. And as a result of the water sapping at the contact, it took a shorter route. And then slowly with increased scouring, the opening became bigger. And with time, the roof started collapsing. There were rock falls. And as a result, the natural arch they started getting widened. And what you have today is after all these rock falls.
So this is actually from the road cut or from the highway. We need to climb down to the temple. So roughly about 100 to 125 feet. We have to climb down. A little bit of a steep climb, but it's worth the climb. What is again interesting to note is that because of the temple and the Devasthan, this place is quite clean and neat, and it has been well preserved. So this is just a small video that we play.
Along the Kalyan Ahmednagar road, as you move ahead, you can see the two contacts. This is the Alkuti GPB, one of the formational contact, and then you have the M3 GPB. This is the not just the formational contact; it's also the contact separating the two subgroups, that is the Lonavala subgroup and the Kalsubai subgroup. Above this. Just about the GPP, you have an interflow horizon. And what is interesting here that this is a debatable topic. There is a lot of work going on and many controversies. You can see the green and red interflow horizon adjacent to each other. So this is very interesting area for the students especially.
So then we move on to the next location from there, a place called Karjulia, but it's famous for a dam which has been built. It's called the Mandohal Dam.
Yeah. So this Mandohal dam, the Mandohal Dam is built on this Mandohal Oda. This is during the dry season. As you can see, beautifully exposed Pahoe flows are seen on the banks. Actually, it is an incised meander. It's totally structurally controlled, which you can see in the next slide. Yeah, this is the dam, and as you can see, it is a small Oda, and its tributaries are beautifully structurally controlled drainage. And the main Oda is northeast southwest trending, and our dikes in this area are all northeast southwest trending, and the tributaries are northwest southeast. And you can see there the Masoba Jhap, which is somewhere here, and it is the lava channels are all trending in the northwest southeast direction. This is the close up of the one of the tributaries, which is. Yeah. So from there we move to the next spot. That is the next location. That is the Kanerwadi. In the old topo sheets, it was written as Kanerwadi. But today there is a small hamlet that has come up. That is why on the Google map you see it as Masoba Jhap. What Dr. Guha had mentioned about the lava channel, this is the lava channel which we had identified in '89. Okay. So what you see here is you can appreciate these cyanus ridge which is standing out in the background. So this is actually an exhumed lava river. You can call it a lava river. Just please compare it with the active lava channel which is seen in Hawaii. This is what so in though we cannot call it a channel, it could be a tube. In today's topography, what you see as a channel could have been a tube, uh, originally a tube actually. So this is again another view of the thing. This is during the dry season, where you can, this is facing north. You can appreciate, you can see the reddened and margins standing out. And this is standing out because it is indurated and it is pretty glassy. And again, this is another view which is looking upslope. You can see the sinus meandering lava river. I mean, frozen, exhumed lava river, I should say, or frozen lava river. Next one. This is developed in the Ratandar Formation, and Pahoy flows in the Ratandar Formation. A close look at the margins, you will find that this is the what the people are standing on at the margins, and where this lady is standing. That this portion have enlarged here, and there is a clear distinction between the margin and central portion. The margins are reddened and indurated, more glassy, and the central portion is very different from the margin. So central portion close to the margin, you have close space uh, joints which are parallel to the margin, and along the margins, many places you will find that there is lot of brecciation, and where the brecciation is there, you will find the cavities in between, the spaces in between filled by the secondary minerals, mostly scolecite, calcite, and silica. So this is very interesting for the students, and this is how the base of the, yeah, you can appreciate the saucer-shaped base of the lava channel or tube. The top is seen elsewhere. This is the entire stretch which has been mapped by one of my students later on in detail. And this is the portion where you can see a place called Sikri, where you can see the top clearly, and Patil Vasti, where you can see actually offshoots of it or fingers of it. It's like a distributory pattern. And where we were in towards the west. Okay, yeah, yes. This lava channel is earlier one. This lava channel, if you see art, is traversed by number of dikes. Okay, you can see here they are cutting across the lava channel here, and some of these dikes we have got xenoliths, crustal xenoliths from here. Okay, this is the dike along a vertical exposure, and these are close up of the xenoliths which are seen there. Okay, and I would like to just mention here that there is a crushing unit in the area, and they have been extracting this material, the dike as well as the xenolith, and as a result of which, what we saw in 2007 and today, there's a lot of difference. A lot of this material has disappeared. Yeah. From here, we move to the next spot or next location, that is Dokeshwar Temple.
Again, Dokeshwar temple is again a rock cut temple. Caves, originally started with the caves, but cut into the wall of a hill. Built somewhere around the 5th, 6th century AD in the Pavi flows of the Ratanghat formation. Typically of Maharashtra, you'll find that most of the temples are dedicated to Lord Shiva, but this is a beautiful temple with a lot of motifs and animal figurines and all that. Just a short video on that.
And actually, Guha sir, you have actually confirmed this uh, idea, because you just mentioned that there are some indurated and redundant material which you have seen on some parts in Dhulia district in Ajanta, and definitely those caves are also formed because there was already a natural lava cave present there. We have seen such a similar thing in Ellora too. Okay.
So after lunch, we move on to a place called Vadgaon Darya, which is essentially exhibits spring tufa, somewhere here on the last leg of the journey.
Yeah, here actually you have similar tufas in many places. This is at the uh, on a plateau. I mean, there's a the plateau is one of the Kanur plateau. Along the Kanur plateau itself, two three different places, and you have this uh, Kaltufa formation. And even on the other side, on the northern side, you have beautiful fault tufas at Bamburi. So what is interesting is that the tufas have been studied a lot and have been dated to 6.6 to 9.2 kilo years. And according to Dr. Rajguru, this was the period from 8 to 10 kilo years. This was the period when there was intensification of monsoon. Okay. Today, unfortunately, earlier there was a small temple in a small rock shelter. uh, Unfortunately, today they have leveled this area in front of it, and with the result, lot of this Caltufa, which was present in 30 years ago, has disappeared. These are some of the remnants which I had with me, which shows beautiful plant impressions. And this is inside the temple where you can still see the precipitation of the calcium carbonate from the roof. You can see it all along the walls as well. Uh, Yes. And yes, yes. From here we move to the next spot, that is Nigoj. This is the last.
Yeah. Nigoj is actually a very important, popular tourist destination because it's not very far from Pune, and people are actually marveling at the kind of potholes, the large potholes, which in local parlance are called as Ranjan Khalge, which means actually a pothole. Uh, the way they are formed, they're not really interested in knowing how it is formed, but the fact that it's a scenic beauty. So you see a lot of footfalls on weekends. But again, geologically very interesting. One of the largest potholes in Asia, gigantic in nature, and downstream they've actually coalesced and formed a very deep gorge. Yeah.
Apparently, there is a nick point at the. So again, this is close up of the individual potholes, and this is again carved in the vesicular, highly amygdalar vesicular flows, which are relatively softer, and these are Pahoy flows belonging to the Ratangad formation. Again, you can see the beautiful reddened crust of the small unit, and you can see parallel alignment of the vesicles also at some places, and you can see the different dimension. The one boy is sitting there. You can see the different how the different small potholes are coalesced to form are slowly forming a small gorge.
Yeah. So, I mean, what is Pune without
Zeolites.
the zeolites and the popular secondary minerals? Yeah. Very famous ones. In fact, Kevenzite is one of the rare finds. Pune is the only second place on the earth where Kevenzite is found. Sorry. This is a place called Vogoli. Sorry, this is Kevenzite and
this is Pentagonite.
Pentagonite. And you see different minerals.
So this is actually most of these what we are shown here are present in Pune district, and at least four of the minerals here are from a place called Wagoli, which is en route from Negoj to Pune. But unfortunately, way back I think when Guha sir was still there, way back we had when Subramanian sir was our director, we had gone there, we had tried to tell them the importance of this and barricade one of the areas, but unfortunately that has not happened. I have also written to the Intact Pune and given a small note regarding the that preservation, that the Kevenzite quarries. Some of the quarries should be preserved. Even that did not, unfortunately, happen.
Yeah. So,
Anyways, this is today a prize position, and it is, many of these zeolites are found in the museums abroad.
in fact, some of these pictures you will get on foreign websites.
Yes.
It's ironic that some of the best things are not being preserved because of the commercial value that they have. Yeah. So we are now, sun is setting, and we are on our way back to Pune. Yeah, after a good tour. Before we end, I just want to mention a few things about the activities that we carry out. Just one or two slides, and just talk about what we're doing at the Center for Education and Research in Geosciences. Essentially, this was formed to popularize geosciences. It's not really telling people to go and take geology as a subject, students, but trying to convey to them the importance of earth science and its application in daily life, in a common man's life. I mean, it's surprising that people cross a bridge or go into a tunnel, but they don't really understand the role of a geologist or the role of earth sciences in the whole thing. We do this through capacity building awareness programs. We have a flagship program called the Geo Week, which runs for 3 to 4 days, where we have a lot of activities, exhibitions, field tours and stuff like that. We do training workshops for school teachers, teacher training workshops. We do exhibitions and outreach programs. So a couple of our programs, like the Geo Week is the flagship, but we also conduct annual geoscience quiz competition called the GeoQuest, which has been very popular among school students. So this is basically done live on the stage. Here, the different schools are actually going through the elimination round, because a large number of schools come, so we do an elimination round, and then we have the quarters, the semis, and the finals live. These are exhibits at our first Geo Week, which we held in 2017. This is the recent Geo Lab, which is again the inter-school geoscience-based project competition. We are very clear that this has to be based on geoscience projects, and it's very interesting to know that kids. I mean, this is these are about 7th or 6th standard kids who have done really good stuff, and we were also surprised to note that students from the 8th and 9th standard have actually worked on projects like IoT and for predicting, setting up systems for predicting earthquakes and all that. It's very interesting.
And landslides.
These are basically some of the field trips that we go to. This is a place near Junnar where we found something interesting there. Yeah. So this is again from the first Geo Week that we held. Our focus on that, right from the time we started our activities, was to kind of popularize geoheritage sites, and we have this huge poster here. I mean, this poster on the screen looks small, but this was actually a 10 feet by 3 feet poster. Yeah, and we had plenty of such posters, but this is basically focusing on the geological wonders of India. Last year we did our focus was on last year during the Geoheritage. So the Geo Week, our focus was on Geoheritage, and here we basically built a huge map exhibiting all the Geoheritage sites and description of the different Geoheritage sites here. About 30 of them. There are a couple of them more, but just in terms of balance, we did about 30. What was interesting is it was designed in such a way by the team that we had a QR code, and you could actually, by scanning the QR code, you could actually go to our website where details of all these geoheritage sites are given. Yeah. We also have books displayed here based on the geomorpho sites, which has been basically authored by Dr. Vishwas Kare of Pune University.